Hi, and welcome to another episode of Motivational Moments with Coach Tami. And I am Coach Tami, and I'm elated to be here with you on today to just share some jewels about how to maximize failures. How to maximize failures. Listen, often when we hear the word failure, it's viewed as something that is inherently negative. But what if I told you failure only has a negative impact if you give it the power to? Can I help somebody really quickly? Failure can work for your benefit if you decide to give it a positive voice. That's right. I said failure can work for your benefit if you give it or if you decide to give it a positive voice. When we think about failure, we don't automatically have to go to that negative mindset, to that negative perspective that, oh my God, I failed at this and now, life is over. Now I'll never be able to recover and so on and so on. All the things that we think about when we hear the word failure. Failure can work for your benefit. But you have to make the decision to understand that, first of all, failure is not final and failure is not fatal. I'm going to say that again for somebody. Failure is not final, nor is failure fatal. Meaning, failure doesn't have to be the end of a thing or the destruction of a thing. And fatal means that whatever this area, whatever this situation, whatever this experience is, whatever this avenue is that maybe didn't work, it doesn't have to be fatal. It doesn't have to be the killing off of something. It doesn't mean that your dreams or your visions or your goals can no longer thrive. Failure does not have to mean that. Failure can actually build it up if you view it with the correct lens. So I just want to help us for a few moments today. I'm not going to be long at all today. I want us to think about a different lens of viewing failure. First of all, when you view failure with the lens of learning, it builds your knowledge. I'm going to say that again. When you view failure with the lens of learning, it can build your knowledge. It can tell you what works and what doesn't work. Oftentimes, we don't know what doesn't work until we try to do it and it doesn't work. And too often we have been taught that when something doesn't work, that you've made some grand mistake or that you misstepped or that was a poor decision. It doesn't necessarily mean that you misstepped or it was a poor decision. It could just mean that it was something that you desired to do, but it wasn't designed for you to do. Oh my goodness, let me help you. You can desire something, but that's not designed for you. And sometimes failure builds that knowledge to say, although I might have had a desire to do this, this wasn't God's design for me. And it doesn't have to mean that my progress doesn't go forward, that my success can't still be attained. It just means that this way of gaining it or this avenue of gaining it, it's not for me, and it is okay. Build your knowledge. It tells you what doesn't work. It tells you what areas may not be for you. It tells you what people may not be for you. It tells you, it teaches you sometimes that it may be for you, but again, the way you were going about it, the way you were operating in it, that isn't for you. It builds your knowledge. And what happens when you build your knowledge, it gives you the ability and opportunity to come back to the drawing table, to reset, to recalibrate, to reconnect, to do things differently so that the next time that you step out to do it, that you will be successful. So it builds your knowledge. Viewing failure with the lens of learning, guess what? It builds your resilience. It builds your ability to recover quickly. Here's the thing. You cannot sit in the face of failure and allow it to depress you or cause you to, again, just be overwhelmed with the plethora of negative thoughts. But you can, when you look at it with the right lens, again, it strengthens you. It helps you to recover. It helps you to, but that comes because you speak positively to yourself about the situation. You speak that positive affirmation. You speak or look at things again with the lens of this didn't work, but it doesn't mean what I want to do can't work. But it builds your strength. It builds your ability to keep going, to be resilient, to be perseverant, right? In the midst of trials, in the midst of tribulations, in the midst of other people's opinions, in the midst of even some of your own self-sabotaging thoughts. When you look at failure with the lens of what can I learn from this experience? What can I learn from this thing not working the way I wanted it to work? It gives you the resilience to say, you know what? It may not have worked this way, but I'm not going to allow it to utterly die. I'm going to get the strength. I'm going to get the stamina. I'm going to get back up, and I'm going to keep going, keep striving. Listen, failure with the right lens builds your character. Some of us, if it hadn't been the fact that we failed at certain things, we wouldn't have grown with the character that we have. Some of us wouldn't have patience. Some of us wouldn't have more compassion. Some of us wouldn't have a level of knowledge and understanding. Some of us wouldn't have a level of love. Some of us wouldn't have a level of peace had it not been for some things not working the way we desired and us going through that process. Failure is a part of the process of getting us from where we are to getting us to where we need to be. But it can only happen when you have the right thought process about it. And then lastly, I'm going to say, when you view failure with the lens of learning, it builds your view of value. There are some things that we devalue in our lives because we have an expectation that we should have certain things, or this should have worked out, or maybe we devalue certain things because we never thought we would lose those things, right? There are some people that didn't value relationships until they were lost. There were some of us that didn't value material possessions until it was lost. Sometimes failure teaches us how to value that which God has given us, that which is in our possessions. It teaches us how to not take things for granted. Sometimes God allows failure so that we can recognize and realize those things that we have taken for granted, so we no longer take it for granted. So those are some of the things. If we're thinking about maximizing our failures, making your failures work from you, looking at failure with the right perspective, those are some things. But here's just a few more things I want to give you. Listen, it's okay to fail. Some of us have such an over analytical mindset or a perfectionist way that when things don't work, we crumble right along with that thing. And I want to encourage somebody, stop crumbling and falling just because something didn't work. Your entire identity, your entire livelihood, your value as a person is not tied into that relationship, that title, that position. Who you are as a person is tied solely into who God has created you to be. So it's okay for things not to work. Listen, you got to learn how to drown out those who want to maximize the fact that you failed instead of the fact that you overcame your failure. You have to know when it's time for some people to be evicted from the table in the conversation. There are some people that are connected to us that will continually try, even after maybe you have reset and reconnected and you have rebuilt your life. There are just some people that will try and make you relive. But yeah, you might be successful now, but 10 years ago you failed a day. I know, but that was part of the process that got me to where I am. But you have to learn how to drown out that negativity, because what happens is when you begin to allow it to seep in, even at little drips and drabs, it grows. And then that external voice from somebody else becomes this still small internal voice, right? So as you're trying to grow and as you're trying to continue to do things, it gets louder and louder, and then it becomes a hindrance. And some of us have internal hindrances because we fail to drown out external voices, and they regurgitate in our hearts and minds. And then it makes us, or it brings us to a place where failure, it feels like that failure is final. I'll never be able to be successful. I'll never be able to grow my business. I'll never be able to grow this ministry. I'll never be able to have a happy family. I'll never be. No, drown those voices out, drown those thoughts out, change your language. Stop saying just because this didn't work, nothing will ever work. That is not true. Again, just because it didn't work here or this way doesn't mean it's not destined to work. Get back to the drawing board. Get back into prayer with God and ask God, okay, God, you gave me this passion for a reason. You gave me these talents for a reason. You gave me this desire for a reason, okay? And God, when I stepped out the first time or even the second time or even the third time, it didn't work. God, should I be in this avenue? And if I should, God, what am I doing wrong that I keep coming to this resetting place? Again, because failure doesn't have to be final. Sometimes failure brings you to a place just to reset, to recalibrate. Because sometimes we veer off from the plan, or sometimes we involve people that shouldn't have been a part of the plan, and we have to reset. But I want you to know that failure isn't final. Neither does failure have to be fatal. And you can maximize your failures when you look at it through the lens of learning. I hope that encouraged somebody today. Thank you for joining me on today's motivational moment, and we will see you next week. Have a blessed day, everyone.